Hello, I'm Jeremy Wright, the Associate Pastor of the Westside Missionary Baptist Church, and Planned Parenthood is very angry. They're very angry with Donald Trump and Mike Pence. How could you be angry at Mike Pence? He's such a nice guy. And anyone else in the Trump administration. This is a quote from the Planned Parenthood. Since coming to power, the administration, the Trump administration, has tried to shut down Planned Parenthood in every possible way. It really makes you cry to think about those poor baby murdering racists who now will no longer be able to take your money and use it to be baby murdering racists. They're going to have to be baby murdering racists on their own. How terrible. They were so young. They just weren't ready for this. Well, too bad, you bunch of baby murdering racists. They're going to take your money away, and they're going to quit being involved in Title X, which is amazing. It means they won't take our tax dollars anymore, my money, your money, and give it to Planned Parenthood. And you know what? I couldn't be happier that Planned Parenthood is such a blow against them. So tonight's video is, Trump is the best president for Christians. The best president for Christians. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 14 verse 34, righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. The reproach on the U.S. must be high. How many babies have been murdered in these abortion clinics? How many babies has Planned Parenthood murdered? I'm sure it's a lot. I'm sure it's more than you want to think about. It's more than I want to think about, for sure. Now, why? Why have we stooped so low? Why is this allowed? Well, years ago, they had this court challenge, Roe versus Wade, right? You've probably heard of it, where they decided that abortion, due to the, I don't even remember which amendment, but it's not in there. It's not in the Constitution anywhere. They don't talk about abortion. But they decided that abortion was protected by the Constitution. Because when George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton and John Adams all got together, they were like, you know what, we got to make sure, before we leave, guys, before we get out of here, let's make sure that a mother can murder her baby while it's still in the womb. We got to protect that. It's very important. How will society go on if people have children? I bet they didn't have that conversation because abortion is not in the Constitution. I've read it. You know what you should do? You should read a Constitution. You can go. I bought one at a Book a Million. Just walk into Book a Million. Here's a little Constitution. It was $2.99. You don't have to order them online. They had some nice ones that have leather bounding on them and are real pretty. They cost more, so I bought the cheaper one because it says the same stuff. So it's just not as pretty. Through the years, no doubt, millions of babies have been killed. And the people who push the hardest against this have been Christians. Right? Christians are the people who are always saying, you need to stop killing these babies. Christians fight against abortion all the time to very little avail. But then we got a president who actually cares about this, Donald J. Trump. We may have sent him there to destroy political correctness, which is a very important thing that he's doing. Political correctness is a horrible evil. What they do is they make the things that you say politically incorrect, so that when you say something, people will call you a bigot. Like, I've been called a bigot. I've been called a homophobe. That means phobic afraid of homosexuals, is what that would mean. Which is silly. It's a silly term, but it's also, no one is that. No one's a homophobe. There are people who believe what the Bible says, and the Bible says that homosexuality is a sin. Yeah. Who cares? Why can't I believe that? I've been called a transphobe. That's somebody who's afraid of transgender people. And when you really point out what these words mean, don't they get silly? And it's bad for me to say. This would be politically incorrect. I'm going to make a politically incorrect statement. Planned Parenthood is a bunch of racist baby murderers. That's probably a politically incorrect statement. Now, they're not as racist as they used to be, because their patron saint, Margaret Sanger, has, I'm pretty sure she passed away, but they took her out of one of their Planned Parenthood. They had a picture of her. This is Margaret Sanger. She made us what we are today. But her goal was to get rid of the bad people. You know, the poor people, the unseemly people, the less than good people. And some of those people that she thought was less than good were black people. She probably didn't like other races of people too. But she did directly talk about how she didn't like black people. And you know who gets the most abortions are done? They're committed on black children. In New York, I've heard that it's less likely for a black child to be born than a black child to be aborted. Well, that's terrible. Isn't that horrible? How could we like something like that? And then Donald Trump comes along and fights Planned Parenthood. 7 times he's tried to defund them. I'm going to find the article on this. Now, as I told you last time, or the time before, Planned Parenthood has endorsed Joe Biden. So remember that. Remember that this evil bunch of people who like to murder babies and get really upset when you try to stop them. They get really, really annoyed, as they said about this administration, has tried to stop them. If Planned Parenthood had to close their doors next week and never open again, the world would be a better place. Because Planned Parenthood is evil. They're an evil place. There was one across the street from me for a long time, but guess what? It's not there anymore. I was very happy. I'm very happy about that. I was going to go out there and stand in front of them and tell everybody that went in there not to murder babies, but I didn't have to because they closed. So, if Planned Parenthood is one of the most evil organizations in the world, and Donald Trump is fighting against Planned Parenthood, what side does that put Donald Trump on? Kind of interesting to think about, isn't it? If Planned Parenthood's evil, and well, you know, evil's over here, right? Planned Parenthood is about as far over here as you can get. So, you could have a relatively evil human being be a pretty good guy compared to Planned Parenthood. But I would say Trump has passed the middle line on the stuff he's been doing recently. So they were caught. Planned Parenthood, they were caught selling baby body parts. Doesn't that sound horrible? You hear that, doesn't it make you cringe a little bit? If it doesn't, there's something wrong with you and you need to learn how to cringe at terrible things. We live in a world with no shame. This world wants to have no shame. They have these walks. I'm going to say the name of it even though I don't want to. Called slut walks. Yeah. I can't spell it. SLUT walks. And then they have this thing. You don't want to slut shame people. All right, now, this would be a promiscuous human being. Typically, this word is used for women. I guess you could use it for men. Anybody who's promiscuous, this is somebody who is having sex with multiple people, is doing something wrong. The Bible teaches that you should only do that when you're married. So the Bible teaches that. And I'm bringing this back to the point of Planned Parenthood and abortion in general. So, if we see that they don't want you to shame somebody for being promiscuous, for fornicating wildly and having sex with multiple people, why? Isn't that a shameful thing to do? Isn't there something wrong in that? Isn't it dangerous to you? The Bible teaches that when you commit fornication, which is any sex with somebody you're not married to, you sin against your own body. Your own body. Well, what happens when people get promiscuous? Which is a word we're going to use from now on. Promiscuous, they get diseases. There's a lot of diseases that are caused by this. Also, women get pregnant. Now, at these walks that I was talking about, they walk around and they want equality, right? So men apparently can walk around shirtless down the street. By the way, men, don't walk around shirtless down the street. Put a shirt on. You should not be out in public not wearing a shirt. I don't even wear shorts when I go out in public. I always tell everybody, because I'm a grown man. Why would I be wearing shorts around? So, but I'm just being silly and picking on people when I do that. But you should dress modestly everywhere you go. Well, these women have decided it's unfair that men can walk down the street shirtless. They should be able to walk down the street shirtless too. And almost no men said no. You see, because men, I'm going to let you women in on a secret here. I'm hoping that somebody that went to one of these walks is listening. Probably not, though. Men we use the word dogs. That's what we use. And if a girl walks by not wearing a shirt, the men are going to be like, hey, well, what's going on here? And then they're going to go to that, whatever it is, and you know what you're not going to achieve? Respect. And you know what you would rather have, women, than equality? Respect. If men respect you, you're better off. You should dress modestly. Men should dress modestly. Men should act modestly. Women should act modestly. And then you won't get pregnant. Now, if you don't have sex with anybody until you get married, then when you get pregnant, it'll be a blessing. And you'll have the child, the two of you will raise that child, and then you'll send something into the next generation. But if you get pregnant before you're married, and then your husband, or your never was your husband, just abandoned you, now you got to raise that child by yourself. And that's going to be very difficult. And you don't want to be involved in that. It's much easier when there's two of you. So, this leads to abortion. Because people don't want to live with the consequences of their mistakes. No one does. You make a mistake, you don't want to live with the consequences of it. You will see this at any job you've ever had. Somebody messed something up. Well, who messed this up? That guy over there. It wasn't me. I was just here, and I didn't do it. And then that guy's like, no, I didn't do it. He did it. And then you're going to pass blame around because nobody wants to own up to their mistakes. But you know what happens when you don't own up to your mistakes? You do it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Now, these videos are to tell Christians how to live in an unchristian world. And I know that Donald Trump says things that might make your tummy hurt. You know, he says things, they're mean. He says such mean things all the time. He calls people names. But you'll notice, Joe Biden also calls people names. He doesn't call the press names. You know who he calls names? People who are going to vote for him. He called a man fat, just as if it was his name. He said, listen, fat, look it up sometime. Just look that up. Joe Biden calling a man fat and yelled at him. Challenged him to a push-up contest or something. And he gets real mean and belligerent when you talk about his son, who apparently is some kind of ne'er-do-well. My goodness, I don't know for sure. Alleged. He's an alleged ne'er-do-well. Ne'er-do-well means like a villain, a bad guy, a guy who does bad things. And it appears like he does a lot of bad things. And how terrible to have a child who does those things. But you know what you're not supposed to do as their parent? Enable it. How does a guy who's never ever worked in the gas industry get a job paying him somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 a month when he knows nothing about it? How does that happen? Well, it doesn't happen unless your dad was the vice president. So these are important things to note. So all the things they say about Trump, Joe Biden has done it. Hillary Clinton has done it. Kamala Harris has done it. And President Trump, they can't prove he did it. Joe Biden admitted to getting a guy fired. We'll look that up too, but we got to go on with what Trump is doing. So Trump is enforcing what is known as the gag rule. They also call it the Mexico City policy. This is a rule where healthcare providers cannot use federal funds for abortions. They're also not allowed to advocate for abortions when they are receiving federal funds. And this is why Planned Parenthood has had to drop out of Title X, because they are abortion clinics. That's what they are. They're abortion clinics. They tell you, we're here for women's health. We help poor women murder their babies. That's what they do. And then they get their little fake halos out and say, we're just here to help. If you want to murder your baby, we can help you. That's what they do. And then they sell the body parts to get Lamborghinis and Ferraris and stuff. They caught them on tape saying that. And so they're not allowed to provide not information or referrals or services or advocate for abortions. So abortions are terrible. They're a terrible, terrible, evil thing. Anybody that defends them usually gets really mad at me because I say these things to people who I know believe in abortion. I say, it's murder of a baby. Now, I'm going to address this point while I have the chance, but I made a whole video about abortion that you need to watch. I'm going to address this point, the rape and incest point. Everybody always brings up the rape and incest point. I don't care. Okay, I don't care about that point. That point is stupid anyways. But let's go into the point. 1% of people, 1% of abortions. So out of 100, it's 1. So you're telling me, Planned Parenthood, other abortionists, you're telling me right now that if I agree, or if we, say you can do an abortion for rape and incest, you'll stop all other abortions? I'm waiting on a response that I'm never going to get. Because that's not why they're doing it. They bring that up to stop you from talking to them. That's all it is. It's just a trick. Don't listen to it. Just say 1% of people. All right, so you're saying if we get rid of that, say these exact words. So you're saying if we allow rape and incest abortions only, you will agree to that. No other abortions. And then stick your hand out. They'll never shake it because that's not what they're trying to do. Now, every time we make a law like a heartbeat law, we want a heartbeat law. Why do we want a heartbeat law? Because it would save babies. That's it. That's the only reason. It would save babies. But also, we want a conception law too. If we can get a law all the way to conception, we're going for that. I'm telling you right now. That's what we want. But we'll take a heartbeat law because every baby you save is a baby saved. And it's worth saving. One baby. It's worth it. So, we'll take it. That's why I like Donald Trump. Because he fights this battle for us as the president. Now, President Donald J. Trump, which I like using his whole name. It just gives it such gravitas, was the first president to speak at the March for Life. Now, the March for Life, if you don't know what that is, has been going on since 1974. 46 years. 46 years they've been doing the March for Life. No president has ever spoken at it until Donald Trump, which last year. And the year before that, he spoke via some kind of teleconference or something. And then Mike Pence was at one of them too. So, it's pretty telling, isn't it? Just to think about. So, Donald Trump goes to the March for Life. The March for Life is a march. And the goal of this march is to stop abortion. So they get out in mass. And so these are all the people who think abortion should stop. There's no violence because we're trying to stop violence. The only violence comes from the other side. The left is where the violence comes from. The right is pretty nonviolent most of the time. And the violent people on the right, we don't want them. We want them to leave. We want them to go be a part of something else because they're not what we are. Because we're not a violent bunch of people because the Bible teaches us not to be. So, these people give up their time to go march for these unborn babies who cannot speak for themselves. It's a pretty wonderful thing. And Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, as I said, the best president for Christians, he spoke at that March for Life. Now, how many Republican presidents didn't speak at the March for Life? And I'm going to name them, even though I do like some of these presidents. The first one, Gerald Ford. Now, maybe it was too early for Gerald Ford, because Gerald Ford he left office in 77. Things started in 74, so pretty hard. And then you had whoever was after him, I think, was it Jimmy Carter maybe? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Then the next Republican president, although Jimmy Carter said he was a Christian, so I don't know what he was thinking. Ronald Reagan. Now, Ronald Reagan, I'm going to defend him a little bit here. He didn't go to the March for Life, but he did write an anti-abortion book while he was president, which is pretty nice. But he was president from 81 to 89. He did not speak at the March for Life. Now, he's a pro-life man. We understand that, but he didn't go speak there. Now, I don't know. Maybe he had a good excuse. Maybe there was a good reason for it that I don't know, because I was young. I was born in 83, so I don't know. I think he was a good president. He was a very good president, one of the best presidents we've had. Probably the best president since Lincoln, which is way, way back, right? By the way, Lincoln was the first Republican president. He freed the slaves. The Republicans were all the abolitionists. These are the people who wanted to abolish slavery. Got together and formed a party called the Republican Party. Remember that. When you go there to vote for the Democrats and you're like, oh yeah, the Republicans are racist. Nope, wrong. The Democrats are racist. So all the racism was on their side. So let's go on. Who was the next Republican president? It was the vice president of Ronald Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush, 89 to 93. He didn't speak there either. And then we had George W. Bush, the first president I voted for. 2001 to 2009, he didn't speak at the March for Life either. So none of these guys spoke at the March for Life. Now, you may say, well, you can go speak at the March for Life. What good does that do? How does that save a baby? Here's how. Here's why. The president is typically a respected, at least a respected office, even if people don't respect the man. So when the president of the United States gets up and puts the weight of his office behind the pro-life agenda at the March for Life, that gives you much more credibility to the March for Life. And people hear him speak there and say, well, maybe I shouldn't kill my baby because the president seems to think it's a bad idea. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. Every baby we save is a baby we save. Remember that. Very important. Everyone you save is a saved baby. And that's what we want. So everyone that Donald Trump has saved. Now you may be thinking, and this is very interesting to think, wasn't Donald Trump once pro-choice? And the answer is, yes, he was. Now, he said in a quote, and I'm going to find these quotes and try to lay them all out so you can, I'm going to link them in the description so you can look at these quotes. So you can read them all in order what happened. He said he hated abortion. Didn't even like to talk about it. But he's from New York, and I guess it's just the New York in me. I think people should have the right to do what they want to do. But this all changed. And I'm going to read a quote from it. I'll link this up too. This was in 2011. Now, this is before he ran for president, right? When did you run for president? 2016 is when he got elected, right? One thing about me, this is Donald Trump speaking, I'm an honorable guy. I'm pro-life. But I changed my view a number of years ago. One of the primary reasons I changed was a friend of mine's wife was pregnant. And he didn't want the baby. He was crying as he was telling me the story. Trump said he ends up having the baby, and the baby is the apple of his eye. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to him. And here's a baby that wasn't going to be let into life. And I heard this and some other stories, and I am pro-life. Now, you may think, oh, he just said he was pro-life to get elected. I don't know the man's heart. I can't look into his heart and see why he said he's pro-life. But I'm going to have to take the guy at face value here, what he said. This is what he said. And this is how people become pro-life. People become pro-life by seeing something, by hearing something. There's a woman, I cannot remember her name. I think it's Abby Johnson. Don't quote me on that. I think it's Abby Johnson. I'll look it up if I'm wrong and replace it. And she made that movie Unplanned. She used to work for Planned Parenthood. The reason she quit is because she saw a ultrasound-assisted abortion at a Planned Parenthood, and she couldn't go back to work. Because I'm pretty sure once you saw him, like, here's a baby, you can see it on this ultrasound. Then they kill it. You're probably not going to want to go back to work and see that again. That sounds like a terrible thing. Now, many of you may not believe that he means this, but I think his record speaks for itself. He has done what he can do to stop abortion. Now, one of those things, he can't just stop abortion. I know, I wish he could. I wish he could just stop abortion. He can't just stop abortion because of how Roe versus Wade was decided. That mess there makes it constitutional, which it's not. That's stupid. It's not constitutional. It's not in the Constitution. Read the Constitution. It's not there. Why would they? It doesn't make sense that marriage isn't in the Constitution. Marriage is not protected by the Constitution. You understand? Why would they protect abortion when marriage isn't even protected? It's just stupid to think it. But a bunch of lawyers got together and decided, hey, we're chief justices. We're going to make a law. Which they're not supposed to do. That's why the Democrats are so up in arms about Trump appointing Amy Coney Barrett. He also appointed Neil Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. And hundreds of lower courts all the way through. He's appointed so many of these justices because that's what he can do to fight abortion. Maybe they won't overturn Roe versus Wade. Maybe we'll get lucky and they will. I know that they don't agree with it. And I know that more don't agree with it than agree with it on the court now. You can thank Donald Trump for that. Now, you may not like it, but you may not like the words he says. You may not think that he is this nice Christian man. And I'm not telling you he's a Christian. As far as I can tell, he's a lapsed Presbyterian. And I wouldn't even call Presbyterians Christian like Baptists are Christian. But, I don't know any Presbyterians. But from what I see, Donald Trump has done what he could to stop this evil industry of abortion. He's standing up for the life and the lives of unborn babies. And no other president has done it as much as he has. He is the most pro-life president. I've studied it for a few weeks now, everything I can find. Now, I don't have any researchers. It's just me and what I can find on the internet and other places like that. And he seems to be pushing to stop abortion. Now, like I said, I'm a single issue voter. I don't care about taxes as much. I do care about taxes. I don't care about a lot of these other things. At least, I care about them, but I care about abortion so much more. Abortion is so much more important. If I ranked them, abortion has to be stopped. It's evil. And if we stopped abortion, I think this country would get better. I think the Lord could say, hey, they stopped abortion. I don't have to punish them anymore for their abortion. It's an evil industry, and this president is standing against it. Now, my next video, I'm gonna get a bunch of things that President Trump has done, why you should vote for him, and it's just gonna be vote for Donald Trump. Here's why. And, that's what I'm gonna give you, just a bunch of stuff, a bunch of things. I'm gonna name a couple right now. One, he's against the Equality Act, which will take away your rights. Look at my last video about what's wrong with Joe Biden, and you'll see what the Equality Act is. 2, he lowered your taxes, and that's important. 3, he's not a socialist. The Democrats are. And 4, he's fighting abortion. It's the most important thing. So I've listed it twice. It was 1 and 4. So he's fighting abortion, and we've always wanted that. And another very important thing that Donald Trump is doing, he's fighting political correctness. Political correctness will destroy this country if it can. Political correctness makes conversation hard. They try to stop us from speaking. You know why? Because we're right and they're wrong. The conservatives are right and the liberals are wrong. The Republicans are right and the Democrats are wrong. That's why they don't want us to talk, because when the country gets to see, this is what we think, they're like, well, that makes sense. I kind of think that too. So the Democrats, when we go out to talk, they're like, ah! So we don't talk, because they don't like to hear what we want to say. Or they make up lies about us. Or they say he's racist, which almost has no meaning anymore. So, Donald Trump, the best president for Christians. Vote for Donald Trump because he's trying to stop abortion. That's enough reason right there. And there's a bunch of other reasons, but I'm going to give you next week because I'm running out of time. I try to make these less than 30 minutes. So, I'm Jeremy Wright, the Associate Pastor of the Westside Missionary Baptist Church. Like, comment, and subscribe. 45 people watched one of my videos the other day, which I need more people watching them, but subscribe. Why don't you subscribe to the videos? And give me some comments. All I've got is comments that don't even address what I'm talking about. They're just, you're mean, is basically what they said. Don't do that. Give me a real comment, something I can look at, argue with. Or if you agree with me, tell me that too, because it'll make me feel better about what I'm doing here. All right. I will see you next time. You guys have a good time, and vote for Donald Trump.